Just another moment. Thanks, everybody. I'd like to hit pause on it once it becomes visible to me.
And the internet has been just super slow.
Yeah, I'm noticing. Thanks, everybody. Oh, dismiss, pause. Okay, Hamadi, it's all yours. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you. And welcome to everybody for this Wednesday, August 14th meeting of the Human Rights Commission. I am your chair. Live in Ward 5. My name is Hamadi Jackson. We generally do introductions and welcomes, so I will pass it around. Let's go ahead and go to Kelsey.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Murray. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the vice chair of the commission, and I live in Ward 4. I will pass it to Alana.
Hi all, I'm Ilana Lynn. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a commissioner here, and I live in Four Corners. I will pass it to Hope.
Everyone, my name is Hope Strayer. I'm a member of the commission and I live in Ward 4. I'm going to pass it to Lisa.
Oh, hi everyone, I'm Lisa Novak. I live in Ward 3. I'm a member of the commission and I use she, her pronouns. And I will pass to Kara Presley.
Buddy, I'm not going to turn my camera on because I am sick and y'all don't need to see me. But I'm Kira Presley. I'm a commissioner on this committee and use she, her pronouns. And let's pass to Gretchen.
Sure, you bet. Hi, this is Gretchen Bennett. I'm the staff liaison to the commission and I use she, her pronouns. We can just go around the table if you'd like to say hi.
Hi, I'm Judy Collins and I am, I don't know. Yeah. I'm a guest. I'm sitting in on the meeting today.
Yeah, I can share with everyone that Judy's applied to be on the commission and she's here kind of getting to know us a bit. And so thank you for coming tonight. Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Robert Marshall. I live in Ward 2, work in Ward 1, and I am a member of this commission.
And hi, I am Debbie Aguilar. I'm a deputy chief with Salem Police. I am filling in for your police liaison, Robert Dowd, who had another engagement tonight. So I'm here filling in for him. And it looks like we have one more join us.
Hi everyone, I'm Celine. I'm out of breath. Running up here.
Thank you.
And I want to celebrate, or Hamadi, maybe you do want to celebrate Monday night's council decision about Celine.
Oh, yes, we have a new addition. Celine is actually a member now. So
Thank you. Welcome officially.
indeed.
She's been visiting.
I'm just like always on.
No.
So I assume
Yeah.
you like carry yourself with so much confidence. I'm glad.
Now I'm
Even more confidence now.
Wow, very good. Oh, and I think Linnell has joined us.
Awesome. Linnell, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, maybe she's
I'm
not.
Linnell, and
There she
I
is.
work at Safe Sleep United Women's Shelter, and I also am a fan of this committee, so I try to attend these meetings when I can because I love the work you do.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for being here. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure who our police liaison is. Familiar, but I'm not really sure. So we'll go kind of slow to include her.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. Yeah, I might be a little rusty.
For those of you just joining us, Deputy Chief Aguilar is a longtime liaison to the commission before her recent transition. So
Yeah, like
they're
9 years or something, 7. It was a lot.
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so they're being silly.
Let's see. So I will go ahead and move us forward. We will go ahead to our public comments. Did we have any of those questions?
We received one in writing just in the past I don't know, 12, 24 hours, so I forwarded that to you all, related to size bias. Not long ago, around 5 or so, Lee did ask for the Zoom link to the meeting, so I don't know if he'll plan on joining and providing public comment later, but that's all that I have today.
Okay, awesome. All right, well then we'll see if Lee comes, we'll try to carve out some space for him later to speak. Let's go ahead and move forward to our consent calendar, the approval of the agenda and minutes from June and July meetings. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from the June and July meetings.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. Thank you, guys. So we will go ahead and move forward to our bias crime update. So Lieutenant Aguilar, or Deputy Chief Aguilar, that's going to be a hard habit to break.
That's okay. I printed off the notes Robert sent me, and then I realized that it did not actually include the text that I was supposed to read. So I had to pull it up really quick. Okay. So he said there was only one bias crime that occurred last month. It occurred on July 23rd in Northeast Salem and was at a community organization. It was in front of a community organization. He said that the victim, who is a transgender female, had confronted a suspect because the suspect was using a narcotic or an illegal substance in front of a treatment facility. And so the victim explained that didn't appreciate that. The suspect became belligerent, actually started throwing some items at the victim, using very derogatory language towards the victim. And ultimately, officers responded, contacted the suspect, made an arrest with that suspect, and then, yes, so that was what he had me, that was what he gave as far as his report. So I don't have any other information on any other bias crimes or bias incidents happening last month.
Thank you for that. And then Gretchen, did you receive anything this month?
I was 4. So that was an uptick for me. So I don't know if it relates to your recent community engagement, but I'm just going to observe that there was an uptick for me. So my first situation was that a person reported being declined accommodations at work for their disabilities. When we talked, they were already planning to return to a doctor for required documentation that was necessary to help the employer make those accommodations. And so we couldn't think of any other steps they needed to take at that time, but it's glad they let us know, and I left my phone number for a continued resource should there be challenges. A second situation, a person called and reported feeling harassed by a neighbor and described some ongoing conflicts with their neighbor due to their sexual orientation. And that person had reached out for mediation assistance and thought that might be a way they'd want to go. And so kind of, again, they already had a plan in place. They were kind of letting us know and talking through. So I indicated we could be a resource if that fell through or if they needed anything. So that was that one. I also had a person report concern about a long delay anticipated in elevator repair. They explained they access an upper floor of a building of a place of public accommodation, and they and others try to do that along with mobility, who have mobility disabilities. And the place had relocated the public accommodation to the ground floor to try to recognize the lack of an elevator while the elevator was undergoing repair. We talked it through, kind of looked at comparative what other what are other typical construction timelines, but we couldn't locate anything that the location could do differently or wasn't doing, but we offered some troubleshooting and to be a resource. So there was that situation. And then my last one is that a person reported experiencing getting biased language and also what they felt was harassment at work. And we talked through what their options were, and what they decided to do was file a complaint with the Bureau of Labor and Industries. And so I helped them become a little more familiar with that process and help them know that pathway. So I had 4 this month.
Thank you. The ones that were maybe seeking mediation, if you would like to, you can go ahead and forward them my email address, so that way if they do decide that they would like us to mediate, I'd be happy to spearhead that.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, they had already contacted a local mediation service. But do you want me to jump in and offer that as an alternative, or do you want me to wait and see if they call back?
Yeah, if they were to call back or anything,
Okay.
just go ahead and forward them my information, and then, like I said, I'd be glad to mediate or provide an ear.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sometimes just an extra person at the table to try to help the conversation run smoothly can help in a conflict. Good. Okay. Well, great. Those are my complaint reports.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, and thank you, Deputy Chief. I'm kind of sad that you're finally there and I'm not there to say hello.
No. Next time I fill in.
There we go. So we will go, let's see, complaints of discrimination. That's what we just did with that. So orientation, overview of the HRC, its role and function, since we have our new member.
Back to basics a little bit. Folks decided this might be good for everybody. It's been a while since we've done an orientation, and so just to walk through the basics. So what this little part of the agenda would involve is a touch of history, a touch of our role and function as defined in our Salem Revised Code, awareness of the organizational documents, a little bit about kind of how you all function, and a couple little housekeeping items. But I really appreciate all of you. You're all volunteering your time. This is your evening. And if you at any point want to add something or you want to ask a question, just stop me and jump right in. So I don't mean to talk so much, but I'll jump in and then you tell me, oh wait, Gretch, I want to talk about X, Y, and Z. So first, a touch about the history. The commission was formed back in 1964, and it has changed a bit since it was formed. At one point early on, it actually had subpoena power to get in and subpoena issues during complaint situations, but quickly that escalates into legal. That's a legal environment. And so the city adjusted that and essentially adjusted it to be, if you have something that's escalating to that point, we'll work with you. And so we'll come alongside as the city attorney's office and assist with those kinds of things because they've got the training in how to properly do subpoenas. So that was one change. The only other real change is the change of its name. They've had different names. It started as the Salem Human Relations Commission, and then at one point was the Salem Human Rights and Relations Commission. And then DC Aguilar and I remember the shift down to the Human Rights Commission, just simply put, and a focus on the human right component. So there was those changes. There was a history summary that was created before I started at the city. I've been here now over 11 years, but prior to my start, there was a document that tried to hit highlights of the work that was done by the commission in each decade. And that should be in your email box if you want to enjoy taking a look at that. I should make sure, Judy, to send that to you. Let me make a quick note in case you'd like to peruse that. But that's just a touch on history. So role and function, I'm going to share my screen. And we're gonna look at chapter, if I'm lucky. Hold control. No, I don't want to do that. Just a quick sec. Now, how do I get out of this? I want to find my screen. I don't see a minimize. Let's do this. No?
Oh, that is weird.
What I want to, I've opened up multiple tabs in my internet. I thought I was ready, but I'm like, it's only gonna, well, let me start here. Let's do this. And then maybe, so I'm probably sharing our YouTube right now. Oh, forgive me, you guys, I'm sorry, hang on. Gretchen's now gonna hit the wrong button while she tries to move the taskbar out of the way. Okay, here we go. Thanks for bearing with me. Oh, I had you up a minute ago. Okay, we're gonna look for chapter 8. Oh, for Pete's sake. We don't wanna do that either. Everyone, thanks for bearing with me. I had these up. Chapter 8 is the piece that is, I want to get this to where you can see where the Human Rights Commission is created. And in particular, what I want to do is bring you down, and I apologize for the scrolling, that might not be easy to see, is point out the general powers and duties of the Human Rights Commission. As you know, you're advisory, and that means we don't independently make decisions or speak for the city as a group of people. We advise the city. And the categories are that you promote, you've heard this phrase, we use this phrase, we promote harmonious intergroup relations. Another task is we examine sources of tension, practices of discrimination, and acts of prejudice. C tells us we don't conflict or duplicate with other agencies. Like, we wouldn't duplicate Bureau of Labor and Industries, for example, but we can help people get connected to Bureau of Labor and Industries. And then if that doesn't work, we can try to assist, for example, but we don't want to duplicate those existing resources. You can make recommendations concerning solutions to problems of prejudice or discrimination. You can recommend to the council, city council, action, policies, and legislation to be considered by state and local governments, and you take action upon alleged violations of Chap 97, which we're going to talk about in a second, but that's the complaint part of the work that we do. And then you might report or update the city council as the council may request, and we just did that recently. So real quick, kind of here's the basic scope. The other one, if I can figure out how to share it, is chapter 97, pardon the scroll, human rights. I'm fond of quoting this first section because it's kind of the overall policy statement, you know, that we want everyone to have an equal, we want everyone to participate fully in the life of the city. You know, we want to remove discriminatory barriers. We feel discrimination poses a threat. Like, that's kind of at the heart of the policy or the objective of the commission. And then this chapter, what I'd want to do is note that there are sections that speak to housing discrimination, that speak to employment discrimination, that speak to public accommodation discrimination. Those are areas that the code particularly calls out. There's also a section, I'm going to scroll, so those of you who get dizzy from that, hang on, I want to get down to 080 real quick. Bias, you know, kind of describes bias, and I think a key part of that is the pairing between an act that would be criminal in nature with the understanding of the bias component, you know, and it's always good to mention in here, we've come across before the intersection of this and just free speech, for example. Someone could say some very biased things, but that could not be criminal, that's not inherently a bias crime. And so that's kind of part of the recognition of the work. It may be an incident in that the person experiences, hate and discomfort, but it may not rise to the level of being a crime. It could be a biased incident. And so you'll hear us talk about incidents and crimes. Another part I want to point out is later on about the remedy a little bit, and I'm going to scroll. It speaks to, so what happens if someone comes, and we often dwell up in this beginning space. And you heard me talk about 4 situations that kind of dwell up in this section. We hear them, we, provide empathy and support and sympathy. We'll explore what kind of remedy they have in mind. And sometimes there is none. Sometimes, like I've had people call and report someone drove by and yelled something discriminatory, but we have no idea who drove by. There's no action to take. But you've all traditionally found those reports useful because they help you understand the scope of the problem, the nature of what happens in Salem. So we've talked about there being an inherent value in reporting those situations. Other times there may be a very specific remedy. We've sat with people as they've sat with their human resources departments, for example, and offered some help as they've talked about what they're experiencing at work, for example. So other times maybe there's something criminal in nature, and we work with our police liaison if they haven't yet called police, but they want some support to help get that information over to police for a criminal investigation if that's what they want to do. So it really just depends. The chapter goes on to talk about we can refer to the city attorney. I've gone over and talked to them a couple of times about situations, but we've never had anything rise to get after it in Muni court that I've been a part of at the complaint side. The police have certainly charged people with biased crimes over the years, but on the complaint side of my house, we haven't had any of that yet. So next, I'm gonna do a different, my screen sharing is paused. Let's see. Now what I want to do, I don't know if I don't think I'm skilled enough to do what I hoped, although maybe. Where's my document? I had also opened the bylaws, but I don't know that I feel skilled enough to efficiently share it because it's not showing up for me now. So let me just also remind everybody that in addition to the Salem Revised Code, which is the city's law, we're also guided by the bylaws document. You all recently updated that in the spring. That's the kind of thing that helps us understand you need to have a majority of seated members +1 in order to make any action decisions. So you approve the minutes or make it a vote on a recommendation to council when you have a quorum. That's the kind of thing. It lays out your chair and your vice chair positions and discusses having an annual election of those rules, for example. So that's where you're going to find rules like that. And that should also be in your email box. Also, when you first get seated on the commission, you get mailed a packet from the mayor's office about ethics, when you're public officials. And so you're asked to comply with the ethics rules and guidelines as it relates to being a public official. I like to point out a couple quickly. One is just you always want to be careful not to imply influence as a result of your position. Like if someone is applying for a grant at the city or asking for a permit to be approved at the city, we would not be comfortable if you know them and they approach you and well, hey, you're on the Human Rights Commission, you were appointed by the mayor, maybe you can help us get that permit through. That's just nothing that we do. So no extra influence as a result of being public officials. That's true for me too as an employee. I can't grease wheels for anybody on any of our processes. Another thing is just that there are rules around gifts. I think it's unlikely that you'll be approached and be tried to be given a gift, but if you are, get in touch with me because there's rules about the value of gifts that you can receive. And so I want you to be conscious of that rule as well. And the last one under ethics I like to mention is just how seriously we take our process of doing our deliberations in public. This is a public process and we'd want the public to be able to access the work that we do. And so that's why you see emails coming out in the BCC format, because we don't want to encourage email chat or dialogue that isn't accessible to the public, for example. And you'll see us, we have to we publish the agenda and the notice of the meeting. There's a minimum of 24 hours to help make sure the public can see that we're having a meeting in case they'd like to come. I aim for a week. I don't always achieve it, but I aim for a week in advance just so that folks can have that information. All right. Now getting down into the how you do the work. You, over the years, have had committees and task forces, and you've also not. We've seen commissions that don't have any of that. We've seen commissions that have several. You right now have two. You have well, no, that's not true. You have more than two. It's on the agenda. You've got a bunch. A through F are really created right now. But committees tackle kind of more ongoing work, and task forces generally are more time limited, and I'll let those speak for themselves as we're going to be getting into those, but those are also up for those of you newer, those are additional opportunities to be involved with the commission, is to join a task force or a committee and help further on advancing some of those things so that we don't do everything in this meeting. Other commissions over the years have just worked on things as a commission and not done those subgroups. So it's just up to the preference of the group. I want to touch a little bit on if you get a complaint and what our process is. And it is in a nutshell, the simplest thing is you can call me or you can call our police liaison if you get something, and we can walk you through and guide you through. You know, you might be out and about in your daily life and someone says, you know, I have a complaint. I want to talk to you about something. And you can reach out to us for assistance. But the architecture of it is, it begins by listening and seeking to understand what they've experienced and what they want to tell you, you know, and if as appropriate offering, you know, kind of empathy around that. We don't know if what they're reporting is true, but we can offer respect for their experience and how they experienced it and be really respectful in that interaction. And then I like to be really driven by the person's comfort, you know, and not create a lot of barriers to talking about their circumstance. So it's not as though they have to write something and turn it in or formally have an appointment or anything. It's just really what would they be comfortable with in terms of exploring or talking about what their next steps might be for a possible remedy. But most often those come in here through, we have an email, humanrights@cityofsalem.net, or they come in through our online, or people drop by, or people call, and that's usually how the complaints show up. But I do want you to be aware, you might get approached if people are aware that you're on the commission, and to make sure you're aware that we're resources for you as staff. We want to help you through that. And, you know, we'd want to know too, so that we can include it in our reporting. Okay. Okay, couple of other things about the way we work. Just a reminder, we ask commissioners not to speak for or on behalf of the Human Rights Commission unless you know you're on solid ground. Like if something's been approved or adopted, like Chapter 97 says we want all persons to fully experience the life of the city. You can say that all day long. That's in city code. But like, for example, we got public comment on a topic we haven't talked about yet. You wouldn't want to represent the city or the commission in a position on that, because we don't really know what the commission thinks. And until, you know, and we certainly don't know what city council thinks. So just a caution not to speak for the commission or the city. You can always speak for yourself, of course, that's your right. And you can reference, you know, like that you're on the commission. I've seen people get up, for example, at rallies or in public speaking opportunities and say, you know, my name is so-and-so. I volunteer as a member of the Human Rights Commission. I'm here today to tell you my perspective, and just kind of clarify they're not speaking for the commission, and then go on to share their own views on things. And that's of course appropriate. And you can mention where you're from without speaking for the commission. So just a comment there. Okay. Another thing we're asking you to do is really come in with respect for all of the identities that we're about. You know, Chapter 97 lists all of the community identities, you know, from age to religion to national origin. You know, there's a range there. And sometimes people will participate in the commission because of a real passion for a particular identity or protected class. And that's great. That provides us with that perspective, but it'll be important for that person to hear and be respectful of all of the different identities that we're working on at this table. So just a comment about that. That can potentially be a challenge. Another thing to be conscious of is that what we aren't is an independent nonprofit acting alone. Sometimes folks come and would appreciate the elbow room or the freedom to be really a private organization that can behave with that true independence. So it's good to remember and kind of ground us in, we're part of the city of Salem. We're advisory to elected officials. And so we're part of that broader piece. And so with that comes great opportunities in some respects and also limitations that hem us into certain respects. So just to point that out, it's probably obvious, but not always. Sometimes it's like, I don't have the same freedom I do at work. It's like, yeah, it's different. Let's see. Couple of housekeeping things. I used to have an updated roster. The new system is to have it embedded in this larger document. But if you ever want the roster to know how to get a hold of each other, I can absolutely have one for you and share that. But just a reminder that we don't want to share that without someone's permission. Like I don't ever share your contact information without getting your permission first. And so just a reminder, if you have each other's contact information, there's a group understanding not to automatically share that. We don't post your phone numbers on our website, for example. We do post that you're on the commission. Your name will be up there, but not your contact information. And I think that's the end of my list. So that was a quick orientation. Hamadi, you unmuted. I don't know if you'd want to add anything or if there's anything, any questions or anything?
No, not at all.
All right.
I'm done coughing and done sneezing and all that kind of good stuff. So.
Awesome. Good. Very good. Well, hopefully that's not a huge surprise to any of you. Hopefully that's all consistent with what you've experienced so far.
No, definitely. So to our new member and our guests, is there any questions on any of that? Or you excited to dig in and start to work? Or?
Yeah. I know what it's like to be a guest.
Yeah. We all were guests before we became members. So as far as I know, I know I was before I became a member. So. Well, okay. Well, thank you for that, Gretchen. And once again, congratulations and welcome to Celine. And hopefully our guests can join us as well at another time in the future. So with that being said, and we kind of touched on it, or Gretchen kind of touched on it a little bit, we have a little discussion on citizenship and Chapter 97. So there was another attachment sent, the prohibition of discrimination based upon citizenship. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check that out in your email. And just kind of any thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, concerns regarding it?
Yes, I have questions. Can it be put into more plain English for me to understand?
I could take a try at that.
Thank you.
I would be happy to. And if I had to impromptu off the top of my head, I think I would say it could technically be added. You could recommend that it be added to the list of identities or protected classes in Chapter 97, but you'd want to know that I don't know that it would lead to any change in a person's day-to-day life, because Chapter 97 already speaks to national origin as being prohibited for discrimination. Although we talked before about the subtlety, the difference if someone's making assumptions based on citizenship v. national origin. So that's a discussion. But we don't have what we don't have authority to do is change any of the employment laws. Like at the city code level, I am connected with the attorney about this, that we can't undo federal employment laws, which require certain things, certain documentations around when you can work in what context, and this wouldn't be able to change any of that, if you will. So there may not be a material change to the experience. But I'll try to write, what I can do, Kelsey, is try to write up something more plain language, and then I'll run it through our attorney to affirm its accuracy, and I can bring that back. I'd be happy to do that.
I know that would help me, because when I read that, I was said, I don't understand most of what that's saying. So that would be helpful for me to kind of like know how I want to move forward.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
So my understanding of what I read was that we could make so people who are lawfully present in the United States are already protected. People who are unlawfully in the United States are not protected. And we want to protect them. But because it's federal law, we can't do anything about employment. But can we do stuff about housing, the other things? Like, can we make sure that someone who's unlawfully present in the United States can't be evicted, for example, because of that reason? Like, they would have to provide some valid reason to evict them.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good and fair question that I don't know the answer to, because I don't know exactly the laws that might govern that. That's a good question. Let me look into that.
Yeah.
That's
Because it seems like we can't do anything with employment, which makes sense in a disappointing way. But there should be other protections that we can put in place.
This might be one that we might need the input of the city attorney and see what we can do and can't do, because I too realize that we can't do anything at all with employment. I mean, that's just, you got to have a social, it's your I-9 form. You have to be able to fill that out. So, and there's nothing we can do there, but I would be curious to see what exactly we could do and then push forward that way.
Yes. And when I inquired, this information comes from that conversation, but you're asking me some really good questions. I'll go follow back up on. I'll certainly affirm he's always welcome at the meeting for some direct Q&A as well. But I'll bring back answers to these questions too. Those are good questions.
The state law could be involved too.
It would be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear.
Oh, sorry. State law is probably involved with the housing. In addition to probably some federal law too.
I'd be curious to see because I know we are considered a sanctuary city, so I wonder, does that come into effect as well? I mean, we just need to have a sit down with legal. That's all. Because there's 1,000,001 questions, and then after he answers those, I'm going to have about 10 million more.
Copy that.
Okay, was there any other questions or comments or anything from anyone before we move forward? Okay, so
sorry, Deputy Chief, how do you currently, when you encounter someone who is present in the United States unlawfully, what's this procedure for dealing with that person?
Well, so Oregon, as well as Salem, is a sanctuary state. So we are not allowed to ask a person's immigration status. We're not allowed to share any information about that individual with immigration officials. So we don't really have, our process is we treat them as if they were just like anyone else in the community. So the only time we may ask questions are around bias crime. There's a protected class for it's not citizenship, but it's
National origin.
national origin. Thank you. I went blank on that. So that might be one where we ask some questions, not because we're going to share it, but because we want to know what the appropriate charge would be. So yeah, so hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay.
And then just because this question is so similar to something that is happening statewide, I feel like it's worth mentioning in this space. I don't know if any of you guys saw that some of the Republican legislators filed a press release regarding the Oregon's sanctuary law and how it is preventing a district attorney from prosecuting some people who are allegedly accused of some horrible things. And so it does look like there might be people who are trying to target that. And I wonder if that's something that we should be more considerate about and also maybe bring into the conversation that we're having to strengthen those protections if possible. And I can forward that press release to Gretchen.
I did see that as well. Because it's actually not talking about the prosecution. It's about if they flee to a different country, we have to have extradition orders. But to do that, you have to share information with immigration officials. So like if somebody committed a crime in Oregon and they fled to Europe, wherever, because it's not just specific to any state or country close to us, we would have to share the information with that person with immigration in order for them to come to get them back into the country. So that's where there might need to be maybe some fixes so that we can hold those folks accountable. So, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I read that article too.
Thank you. I couldn't get the article because it was behind a paywall. So I was just going off of the press release and I was like, this sounds concerning.
Yeah.
So thank you for that additional context.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize I was muted. I have to apologize. My dog, for some reason, thinks that he needs to drink the entire world, and it is the loudest thing known to man. So I keep pausing it. So.
He does need to
I
drink the
have the
entire
same-
world.
I have the same problem. Same thing.
I don't know how many times since I've been home that I've refilled his water bowl. It's incredible. Okay.
I think I have a horse, not a dog.
Well, let's see. We don't have Joaquin with us tonight, so I'm not
Hey,
sure.
Joaquin just joined us.
Did he?
Yeah, Joaquin joined us a couple minutes ago.
Nice. Oh, he's hidden down there. Okay, there he is. All right. So hate to put you on the spot as I've just noticed that you were here, but Community Engagement Committee? Any news that you would like to share?
Hey, great. Thank you. Can everyone hear me or see me?
Yes.
Apologies for being so late. I just thought I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make for most of it, so I thought I'd make some of it. Kira, we missed you at the ribbon cutting today. Come on now.
I know, I'm really sad I missed it.
Oh well. I hear you're sick, so I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, so I don't know where we are in the meeting, but I just wanted to pick up something about what Ilana was mentioning about I don't know, I missed the beginning of that conversation, but it made me think of something which might be worth just bringing up here, also relating to the Grants Pass case, which is that, you know, there's a pretty sizable effort in the Oregon legislature to this session to change the laws that protect the unhoused in Oregon. I don't know if you've already talked about this or not, but if you have talked about it, I'll just say that I would add my support for trying to find ways to codify time, place, and manner protections in Salem to the extent that it's lawful and possible for us to do that. Given that it's uncertain the extent to which the statewide protections that exist currently, subsequent to the Grants Pass case, making its way up through the federal courts, whether those will continue, and if so, in what form. That's an open question at the state level, and so I think we should do what we can to to advocate for certain changes, if necessary, to SRC here locally. And we have Salem is pretty consistent with I mean, it is consistent with this with state law, and so we're good now. But again, just making sure that we're explicit about those protections moving forward, I think, is important, no matter what happens at the state level or the federal level. But that's a whole other conversation that I would love to have. But I just heard something related to that, and I thought I'd mention it now that I've been given the microphone. Are we doing updates from committee updates?
We are.
Someone help me out. What did we do last time at the community engagement committee?
I can jump in and get us started. There may be other things folks want
Thank
to
you.
share. I know we wanted to check in on interest and availability of ongoing engagement. Many of you participated July 3rd when we went downtown and just engaged, talked to the community, and the committee further developed the idea and wondered if a quarterly interval could make sense. And the group, since July 3rd went well, that was a first Wednesday. And so the idea was, what if we do first Wednesday quarterly? So October, January, April, and July. And then there was an interest in October, a proposal to go to universities. So we'd reach out to area colleges and universities and see if we couldn't, in that case, maybe split up into pairs, but send pairs to different colleges or universities to do engagement. So we wanted to kind of get your sense of how many people think they might be interested in that kind of activity on first, and is first Wednesday a good time?
Yeah, thank you, Gretchen. And I'll just add on, that was a great reminder. I'm all over the place today. But the reason colleges are many, but the reasons include, for October in particular, classes back in session, folks are back on campus, back in Salem. Many folks in Salem go to Salem-based colleges and universities. Many don't. So there's a lot of non-Salemites who call Salem home for 2, 3, 4, however many years. And so kind of reaching, and they're young and energized and hopefully interested, kind of engaging and mobilizing that demographic. And campuses are just a really good way to get a bunch of people in one place and to reach them. And so whether that's, we're kind of ironing out what that looks like, whether it's a canvassing campaign or we're going to actual events that are on campuses. I think a couple ideas were floated around, but there's Corbin, there's Willamette, there's Chemeketa, there's Western's campus in Salem. There's, I'm sure one or two I'm missing, but yeah. So if folks are interested in that or have any feedback on higher ed, let us know. But that is tentatively scheduled for sometime in October.
I love the idea. I would prefer it to not be a Wednesday. Those are always my super duper long days. But if I'm the only one who doesn't like Wednesday, that's okay. I think that trying to organize it around an existing school event would be more ideal, just because as a college student, when I saw people trying to interact with people in the quad, I was like, ugh, go away from those guys. But as soon as it was an event, I was like, oh, let's talk to everyone. So that would just be my opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that was the consensus from if I remember correctly. But Ilana, you weren't being greeted with our smiling faces. Maybe you would have come up to us and talked to us. Kelsey?
I feel that. I feel that hard. Yes, I love this idea. I'm happy to, I still have some connections from when I worked at Willamette, so would happy to connect as possible. I only know people who work in Monmouth at the Western campus, but if that's helpful at all. But I love this. I would help. It's going to be great.
I'm definitely in for the next round.
Yeah.
I thought it was great the first time that we were there. The first time we did it, actually interacting with people. I really enjoyed that a lot. And I think going to the campuses is going to be an amazing thing. So I'm definitely in.
It's a great idea, and I will try. I've had some mobility issues the past year, so I will try. My cane and I will try. So we'll give it a whirl. See how my legs are doing that day.
The effort is appreciated.
For sure.
One thing that was mentioned at the last meeting is the first Wednesday in October is just a couple days before Willamette's family weekend event that they have every year, so students might be more receptive to us being on campus that week.
That's a
I
good
don't know
reminder as well. Commissioner Coleman, congratulations, by the way, on your appointment.
Thanks. I was hoping to see you at city council, but you know, there's always next time.
Yes. Well, we can talk about that offline.
Yes.
All right, that was a good recap. So we will go ahead and move forward to your other hat, which would be the Data Visualization Committee.
Oh, that's me too. Yeah, so we didn't I already report on our last meeting, Gretchen, here at the full commission, or no? Or was that to the community engagement?
That was to the Community Engagement Committee.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. So we met with city staff again, and had a very productive conversation, and I tentatively will say it's taking shape, and by it I mean the ideas and the kind of the specifics around this data governance process. And so right now the committee is engaged in a conversation around the community engagement committee is engaged in a conversation around what kind of data streams we really want to use, and to what end, and how far back, and how do they relate to each other, what sorts of stories are we telling and extrapolating, how do all these data and these data streams sit in conversation with one another. And basically I think we're going to, if my memory serves, we're going to go with 4, and I'm going to list them now, and it might be more than 4, so don't get mad at me if I've just lied to you. But one of them is, of course, the community belonging survey data. This big repository of kind of this annual snapshot of data that we get. The other will be some form of SPD data, Salem Police Department, whether in the form of reports that we get monthly or in some other fashion. And then others include staff reports, like the ones that Gretchen receives. And we're trying to find ways, and invite you, if you're interested in being a part of those conversations, trying to find ways to have all that data sit in conversation with one another in a comprehensive and meaningful way. And we're trying to, the way that we're kind of leading the conversation is trying to identify the purpose and the utility of the data that we want to highlight. What commentary are we making? What point are we making? What are we trying to incentivize or not incentivize? If reporting or increasing the comfort of reporting a bias incident or concerns of discrimination in Salem is the aim, then what data do we need to use to help facilitate that goal? Is one of the guiding questions that are happening. And so Dan, in the city, who's the ArcGIS manager, has been helpful in kind of guiding those conversations. And so the product of this will be kind of a real clear workflow and a sense of the direction that we're going, and hopefully it will result in something that is really operational for the technical side of things to start getting underway. Things like website design and taking data and making beautiful maps or representing things visually. All those details, of course, TBD, but a lot of exciting stuff happening there, and I'll leave it to someone else to fill in the gaps that I missed, if any.
I got nothing.
So Celine was in that meeting with the city, and so was Gretchen. So I'll lean on you two.
I think you pretty much summed it up. I mean, we all had different input in terms of, qualitative versus quantitative, and certain things we'd like to see depending on what groups of people we'd like represented in what ways, whether it's anecdotal or data driven, and how we go about trying to compile all of that together.
Yeah, thank you. And I think Linnell also I don't know if she's on this call tonight, but she was there for our community engagement committee, and she spoke pretty movingly to kind of the use of narrative data, narrative storytelling, and trying to find ways to incorporate qualitative information and data in the storytelling process or the data visualization process. And so a lot of things to think about. So if these things intrigue you, as they hope they may, open invitation always to the community engagement committee, and to kind of continue deepening those conversations, and hopefully to have something to present back to Dan in the next few months. Hopefully maybe by the new year to get this going. I mean, an abstract concept has come quite a ways. So thank you to all who have been a part of those conversations.
Very well, thank you for that. Was there any questions, comments, concerns before we push forward? No? Okay. Well, thank you again for that, Joaquin. And now we will go ahead and go to our homelessness informational summit. So, Robert.
Yes, we've rebranded from I think term summit and everything to town hall is kind of the terms that we've been using in the publications. I am happy though to announce that we finally have a date on the books. We are scheduled for September 24th, 2024 from 6 to 8 p.m. at Laux Auditorium. Doors will open at 5:30 p.m. With presentation starting at 6. We have confirmations from Salem Police Department, Marion County's Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, Salem Housing Authority, Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, and Church of the Park to speak. The kind of thought is that each organization would have about 15 minutes to present about the work that they're doing to address homelessness in the city of Salem, challenges and anything they may be, experiencing, and then, kind of what their strategies are for moving people into permanent housing. When I emailed and I invited folks, to this and everything, I also asked that, they kind of touch about how they're, collaborating with, other organizations and everything to achieve, the city's goal of navigating people from unsheltered homelessness to short-term shelter beds to permanent housing. I know that a lot of organizations and everything are working collaboratively together and everything behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't necessarily see that. I know that Salem Police Department monthly hosts a meeting with all the service providers in the city of Salem. That group's grown from 5 to over 30 people at the table and everything that are all discussing everything, what they're seeing out in the field. And I was gonna say probably about 70. Oh, 70 now. Wow. It was 30 the last time I was there about a year ago.
No.
So, but there's fantastic efforts that are happening. So I'm really excited about this opportunity for folks to learn about, each organization that's there and the work that they're doing. We wanted to provide an opportunity for folks to ask questions, and Lieutenant Don and everything had mentioned, and I think a couple other people and everything had mentioned everything, the concern and everything about, if we doing an open mic style for people to ask questions, it could, turn into folks essentially hogging the mic or, long-winded individuals, lack of better term, soapboxing. And so as a way to prevent that and everything, in a way to, make sure and everything that, we're getting as many questions and everything as possible, it was recommended doing an online form for folks to sign up to submit their questions ahead of time. And so I created an online form for folks, and I asked Gretchen to send it out with some of the flyers that people can submit their questions ahead of time. I think it also allows us to, with this as well, is prevent people and everything from that may wish to speak ill of, our unsheltered neighbors and everything from getting a hold of a mic and everything and using that to disparage that population or the work that service providers are doing. And so by requesting questions ahead of time, it allows us to, filter that and make sure that the space and everything is, a space and everything that is welcoming for everybody. Because we do also want this to be, a space for, members of the unsheltered community or those that are facing, housing insecurity to come and learn about, the services available, and we don't want folks to, have that opportunity to, put them down. Gretchen Newthing was kind enough to share the flyers with some, send them out to the commission, but also share the marketing material with her colleagues in the communications department. And they provided some critiques, and I'm not sure if people have had a chance to look at the flyers that were sent out, but their feedback was that the flyers were too busy. I mean, there was just a lot of information that was crammed on there. They recommended changing the title from the top and changing it to something more along the lines of learn about the city's efforts to end homelessness. They thought that, by making that change, it would get more attention from the community. Removing the zeros from the times for better readability, and reusing the word town hall and everything towards the bottom, and everything where the date location is, and then a preferred deadline for people requesting accessibility services. I did confirm with Gretchen, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like city staff would be willing to help execute those corrections and any other suggestions we might come up with here in the space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to take a moment though to see if anyone had a chance to look at those flyers and see if they had any other thoughts or suggestions or inputs before we turn it over to city staff to kind of polish up.
I've got nothing outside of the things you already mentioned. I actually did look at it and I've got it pulled up now. It is, there's a lot on there for sure. So I can see where streamlining it might be a benefit, but I don't have anything outside of what you've already suggested, so.
If I may, I might offer an edit to the edit from our communications
please.
team. They had said, learn about the city's efforts, and I guess I'd like to delete the word the cities because there's multiple partners speaking, and just say learn about efforts to end homeless.
So
I would do that.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah.
I also like all of the suggestions given. And as a person who has to frequently make stuff like this, I wonder if we could remove some of the wording around the question and just say like, have any questions you want to ask? Submit them ahead of time, and then add the logos of the presenters. Because I do feel like adding variant visuals, but also just like the representation of who's going to be there usually draws a lot more attention. So just an idea to consider.
Yeah, I like those. We could definitely reach out and try to get most of those folks that are presenting our city department. So imagine it'd be pretty easy for the communications team to get those, and I can track down from our two nonprofit presenters. In regards to the questions, that was one of the things that city staff had recommended, was cutting down on that long paragraph about questions and just having something like questions and then directing them with an arrow to the QR code. So we'll turn that over to city staff to edit. So then we can, my thought was that then we can get this out to, market it through, the city's communication channels, but then also turning it over to presenters and asking them to, share that. And then also, reaching out to, the continuum of care, asking them to share their. Gretchen also extended an invite for me from Lieutenant Dowd to attend their next monthly Tuesday meeting to present, share the invite now with the upwards of 70 people. So hoping to be able to get a good turnout. I don't remember the seating capacity and anything of Box Auditorium, but I think it's upwards of 200 people. And if we get that many people, that'll be a huge success. I see that Linnell has her hand raised. I would like to definitely hear her thoughts.
Thank you for doing all of that, Robert. I'm very happy to have anything happening anytime that helps educate people about what's happening and the how and why and what people can do. I I know that there's so much that can always be said and there's never going to be enough time. But I would just wonder if part of the time frame might include like who is homeless, because sometimes when I'm speaking to people, there's so many perceptions that it's, drug addicts, criminals, lazy people, and sometimes just sharing about the full gamut of who might experience homelessness can almost bust some of the myths. One of the people that I served once was a child psychiatrist who was making over 100,000 a year. And you would think, he's never going to be homeless. How could he be homeless with that kind of profession and that kind of money? But he experienced a brain injury and a stroke, and he had to learn how to do everything from scratch. So, and when I went to warming centers, we had everyone from people who've been living at Wallace or Cascade for years of their lives to people who just couldn't make ends meet financially because of a car repair or a health crisis. And sometimes I worry that people just have the stereotype of drug addicts and criminals and lazy people, and just having some time to share about who experiences homelessness and how easily it can happen to anyone. It's almost like an equal opportunity possibility. I feel like that can sometimes help change some perceptions, but I also know that when you're trying to share what are partners doing about it, that in itself could take 7 hours, not just 2.
Yeah.
So
I
to balance that is so hard, but I just didn't know if there's any room for something like that.
Linnell, I think that's an interesting, I like that you mentioned that. And, timing definitely is a thing. Like was, crafting this, like, man, like we could take an entire day and, barely scratch the surface on a thing like this. But one of the recommendations that I can put forward to the presenters and everything ahead of time as kind of a tool and a guide as they craft their presentations is to include information about like people that they're serving. So speaking into what you're saying is they can dispel through their presentations and everything those myths about how everybody's just addicted to some sort of substance by including data into their presentation about these are the people and everything that we served, X amount of people, less than X percentage reported having substance abuse, is a way to be able to help dispel that, to talk about the population served, but while also giving some quantitative numbers and everything to back that up. The other thing that I didn't bring up and anything ahead of this, and I wonder if there's maybe a somebody or anything on the commission that would like to reach out to organizations that necessarily weren't invited to be presenters, but might be interested in setting up a tabling event. I think at the last time we chatted, Gretchen, you said there's maybe space for maybe like 5,
Yeah.
3, 5. 5 organizations that weren't necessarily invited to take the stage, but might want to table at the event. And if there's somebody in this space that would have time to reach out, maybe coordinate some outreach / tabling efforts. Well, not putting you on the spot. I know you're not a member of the commission, but if you were a volunteer, I think we could make an executive decision real quick.
Oh, sorry. Should I talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just knowing the hugeness of what you're trying for here is just, I almost feel like we should have like a whole day, but balancing all those things and trying to get some of the information out there. I don't know if having handouts would be valuable or a thing, but I have things I've written about like who might become homeless. different styles of success. You know, we think about a job or an apartment, but we also have, you know, some of the people I've served have told, you know, one woman, I may have told you guys this, but she came in with no opinions whatsoever. She couldn't answer the question of whether she wanted salad with her dinner. She was catatonic and just no oomph, no nothing. And at one point she needed a shirt, and I gave her a pink shirt from our supply room. And she shocked me by saying, "Do you think I could have a green one?" And so many people could think, you know, how entitled, beggars can't be choosers. But then she kind of, and she said it quietly and softly, almost meekly, but she said, "I just remembered green is my favorite color." And just, you know what, having a place to come and go from and some stability, even if you don't have a job or an apartment yet, if you have some safety and some centering ability, you might remember what your favorite color is. And trying to kind of show that the people we serve, there's so much more than just, why don't they get a job? Why don't they get an apartment? Why don't they just go to recovery or detox? Why don't they just, you know, get the mental health meds they need so that they can be normal? One woman told me that, you know, Linnell, I went to a psychiatrist. I got the meds that make me stop talking to people you guys can't see. And it gave the side effect of the only medication that stops the voices gives me extreme diarrhea. I would rather have people think that I'm that crazy lady who talks to invisible people than to think there's that woman who has poop in her pants all the time. Because as a homeless person, what are you going to do when you have a diarrhea attack? So I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but just wondering if, knowing the timelines are so tight and there's so much to share that might help change hearts and minds, would handouts be something that would be worth considering, and who might have materials that might help plant seeds?
Yeah, absolutely, Linnell. And that's what I was, that's kind of what, you know, thought was and everything behind, you know, that tabling aspect of it, you know, those 5 or so organizations that might be interested in, you know, just having handouts about, you know, their services. It's, you know, fortunately we don't have the time, you know, with this particular event or anything to get everybody to take the stage, but, you know, it also would, you know, having those 5 tabling and everything does increase, you know, the number of organizations and everything by 5 to be able to share that information. I offered here if there was anybody that wanted to reach out to those organizations. Alternatively, there is that group that does meet once a month that the police department hosts and everything, and that happens the first Tuesday of the month. So we could also ask there as well of those providers, and because it might be easier too that way than, you know, thinking out loud than sending a bunch of emails off. Is just ask for a show of hands at that event, and that still gives them plenty of time to prepare.
Yeah, and I could be support to that, so I could be like writing down who's and following up to confirm.
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
can do the support to that.
Awesome.
And I'd be happy to share handouts if nothing else. I don't want
So,
to take up a
when-
table if other people would want a table, but I'd be happy to share handouts.
But no, Linnell, you can definitely get a table. And I wanted to also say anything that I would appreciate if you have time and everything ahead of time. You've written some really good opinion pieces in the Salem Reporter, and you've got some really good you know, stories and everything that really just speak to the humanity of homelessness. Not to take Church of the Parks you know, phrasing from them, but if you wanted to and everything, I think that would also be, you know, like a really helpful piece and everything. I don't know what you're allowed to do if you'd be representing, you know, Safe Sleep or, you know, just a community member, but definitely think about, you know, ways and everything from yourself and everything. Like, you know, we would love to be able to find an opportunity there to be able to highlight some of the opinion pieces you've written as well. So
Well, thank you. And I think reaching out at the police meeting, you're definitely going to find more than 5 people who would want to have a presence.
I'll do a little homework on how many tables we can fit.
First 5 that raise their hand.
Right? It's like, go.
Have 5
Um,
people at each of the 5 tables.
I know. Would
I-
we be able to still, I guess, share, I mean, I could like cut your flyer in half with people that have to plan like a month in advance. Like if we don't get the updated flyers, they have the date and time.
I don't see
Yeah.
anything wrong with
No.
that.
No, yeah, I don't, yeah.
There'll be an update.
The other thing too, and I think this was mentioned, Gretchen, and you might have a question about this, was there was I think talk something about the ability to maybe live stream or record anything through our friends at CC Media.
I sent an email of inquiry to CC Media, but they may have written me back and I don't know the answer. I'm a
Okay.
bit behind in email at the moment. So they may or may not have responded, but I have asked the question and shared the date.
Awesome, thank you.
So I'll follow up on that soon.
Alana.
Yeah, I would like to offer, if you are interested, I could reach out to some of the substance use disorder providers that service Marion County to see if they would want to table. I know that the populations aren't necessarily connected, but there's enough overlap where it could be helpful.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great.
Okay, cool.
I'm
I'll
gonna reach out
see
and
you.
share the information.
Yeah, it looks like we have 6 providers in Marion County that I have the contact information for. So I can reach out to their executive directors.
That town meeting.
Yeah. Okay, the
And
options there,
other
and then,
options, the community connections, but yeah.
yeah, and then we probably pretty well connected with.
You might not be able to hear on
Oh,
Zoom. We're
yeah,
talking
no,
about.
yeah, sorry.
overlap,
Uh,
But that's
yeah,
fine.
Deputy Chief Aguilar was mentioning that quite a few of them also attend that meeting, but it also doesn't, it doesn't hurt to, reach out to them and everything now, and then, if they hear the information for the second time, they hear it for the second time there, and anything else?
Will we be able to get those flyers after you finish with them?
Yeah, so
Yes.
Gretchen's.
I work
Yeah,
at First
so-
Baptist,
Oh, awesome.
and I would love to see the perspectives on our community changed down there,
That'd be,
because we get it all.
yeah,
They walk through our parking lot every single day, and it's a huge concern for the school. The Capital Christian is there as well. And it's a huge concern for the school and the church. And I would say that our staff has a great perspective. However, the parents and the church members, I wouldn't go so far.
yeah, we would love it if you would send that out. I think Gretchen, is willing to, once staff and everything have made the edits, then sharing it out with all the commissioners, and then we'll share it out with the presenters. And we might ask too, and I think if they'd be willing to, for folks and everything, if they have time to, also provide a couple variations of text that, organizations could just copy and paste into their Facebook pages. So
Oh,
like,
sure.
yeah, essentially just like a pre-equipped, toolkit that, with like text and, an image that they can just upload. Takes the thinking out of it, and then it also increases the traffic.
Copy.
Well, unfortunately, we've had a lot of most of our experiences in that area have been very negative. Broken windows, people, hanging out in areas they shouldn't because we have kids there. And so it's hard to present a positive outlook when all they're seeing is the negative side of things. And I worked with the homeless in San Diego for 2 years. And so I know there is a very different side of things. But it's really hard to be the 1 or 2 people that are going, no, really, they're not all drug addicts and they're not all like horrible people and crazy.
Yeah, and that's and when the commissioner thing, started some of the conversations and everything around wanting to do this, it was to, provide a platform and a space and everything to, dispel some of those myths and those rumors, and to, share that, there is a lot of work that's being done. A lot of times and everything, the work that is happening isn't always seen because, there's still so many people and everything outside. So they lose sight of the the positive success outcomes that the community action agency is seeing in partnership with the city of Salem through the navigation center. And, they're not always necessarily seeing that because, well, there's still somebody that's still sleeping on a park bench, but what they don't see is that, over 50 of those people in the thing have, moved into, a permanent house. And so our goal through that is to invite as many people as possible to come see that.
Well, and being kitty corner to Arches and across the street from the park,
Yeah,
they don't get a chance to see the other side.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
well.
looking forward to this.
Gretchen, could we also, I guess, once the flag's updated, have it sent to Irma so she can send it to like the neighborhood association?
Yeah, happy to do that. Good suggestion.
All these ideas. You guys are fantastic.
Started as a little small idea.
I enjoy it. We chose a big venue, Laux Auditorium, and it'd be great and everything to, fill it up. That's why I also, wanted to get these publications out and the marketing material out and everything ahead of time, a month in advance. I think there's plenty of time for people to save the date and, mark their calendars and, hopefully this is just one of many that the HRC will do, so.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how it all goes down. And then again, I know my bandwidth is pretty low nowadays, but if I can be of any service, be sure to let me know. So
Yeah, I'm sure as we get closer, there'll be a bunch of things that we identify in terms of, support. I think, helping set up the tables, helping, break them down. So folks, anything wanna, budget themselves anything, 30 minutes before the 5:30 and, 30 minutes after to help with, set up and tear down. I think that would be extremely beneficial.
oh yeah, the event, I'm all yours. So
Will there be signage too? Because for people that don't know where house is to get there. The auditorium. Like, cause not everyone knows where Laux is.
Yeah.
So.
It's a really good observation. Like, would you think like outside the library pointing in?
Yeah, because will it be open? The library will be closed, right?
It'll be what day?
Well,
is
so the
it?
doors open at
Tuesday.
5:30, the library, no, it's a
Library will close
Tuesday
at
or Wednesday.
6.
Okay.
It's not a Monday, I guess.
No,
what I mean.
yeah,
It's
we
not a
did.
Monday. So library will be open for the first half hour,
Okay.
roughly, but that's it. So to your point, like, do you think it would be adequate to put like a sandwich board sign out front? That
Yeah,
points
just in case
directly
there's
to
people
Laux?
like.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
where it is, but.
No, thank you. No, that's correct. I think that's really valid. Yep.
Okay.
If you think of other places, I'm thinking sandwich board right when you arrive at the library.
Yeah.
If you think of any other signs.
No,
let me
that's
know.
perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah.
They probably have a sign somewhere in there and I just have looked.
No, it's okay. I get it. Yeah.
all right. Was there any other questions, comments, concerns before we move forward? Am I on mute?
No, you're good. I don't think there was anything. I was waiting for.
No, every time I hit it to see if I'm on mute, it just says pin. I don't know. So okay, so we will go ahead and move forward to the LGBTQIA plus Intersectional Rights Committee. But my question is, Commissioner Murray or Kira?
It's your show now.
Not quite.
Oh, no.
Not yet.
Determined that this is gonna be my final little debrief, I don't know what to call it. And then Kira's going to take over for everything. So we finalized our Smarties goals. We added things that we kind of like normally do. So continue to host and plan the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance event. And then added another one about another forum with intersections around LGBTQIA plus and other forms of or other identities. Let's see, what else did we do? we talked about Transgender Day of Remembrance planning. So we started doing that. We have a potential speaker, which I need to email them again because they didn't get back to me. For next year, and kind of are looking at expanding that, maybe having 2 speakers. Kind of what can we do to highlight the community and offer that support. We updated the brochure, which there were a couple of edits that we just made. So the one that you have in your email is like mostly up to date. Like I changed like 2 words. And then I think lastly is Capitol Pride is on September 21st, starting at 10 a.m. at Riverfront Park. We would love if you, I just realized that my mic, were you all able to hear me?
Yeah, we're all
Okay.
figuring it out.
Okay, perfect. Wow. At Riverfront Park, if you all are able to help table, that would be really awesome. I think right now it's just Ilana, their partner, and then myself. I haven't looked in a bit. But please, like, sign up to table, even if it's just for an hour. And if you can't table or don't want to table, just come to the event. It's a super fun event. It's huge. So looking forward to that. And I think with that, I think that's everything I have.
Okay, thank you for that. And I don't know if I can table, but I will definitely stick my head in if somebody needs to get up from the table to go use the restroom or get a drink or something. So
Perfect.
for sure, for sure. Well, thank you for that. I will go ahead and move us forward to our process review task force. So Gretchen.
Yeah, just a note that we're scheduled to meet. We haven't had a meeting yet. We'll be tackling what the goals and objectives are of that task force, seeing if anybody would like to chair the group. And it's coming up. I didn't write it down, but I believe it's the last Monday in August, if I'm not mistaken, at 5 p.m. So we'll have a more complete report next time.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And while you still got your microphone hat on, we will go ahead and ask about the Salem Speaks Up.
Yeah, kind of same update. We have Salem Speaks Up scheduled to have their first meeting August 21st at 4 p.m. Couple new partners have joined the planning committee. We have a representative from the Fair Housing Council of Oregon staff, and then a staff person from Northwest Human Services are also part of the team. So we'll do our first meeting next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Like I keep saying that last year's event was I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to this year again. All right. Well, thank you for that. I'm actually going to, I don't know if you guys noticed that I actually missed one of the parts, and it was one that I actually asked to be added. So I'm gonna circle back to that. Just bring it forward, something that's kind of is bothering me. I recently was in a discussion around race-based medicine and how, and some hospitals there's like, eye tests that were the parameters of the test were set differently for Black Americans as they were for other groups. And, the whole conversation around, pain management, because Black people feel pain differently than white people do, leads me to think about, times that I, went down on my motorcycle and I didn't even get an aspirin. Is that because I was Black? Or, there's just a greater conversation there. So this is one of the things that I would really like, if any of you guys have any connections with, the hospital or any health organizations around, can we have that conversation? Because if that's a thing that's happening here in Salem, I can't let that stand. Like, we need care just like everyone else. I mean, my eyes are crap. That's why I wear the thickest glasses ever. But the thing is that I deserve care just like everyone else. I shouldn't have to have different standards of medicine. So I really would like to make sure that Salem is a place that we do not condone that. We are not doing that. So I'm asking for you guys' input and help with that because I actually don't know anybody in the hospital outside of some people that work in food service, and I don't think they can facilitate a conversation that's going to help with that. So yeah, I don't know. Opinions, questions, comments. I welcome.
Hamani, this is Gretchen. Now that I'm hearing that, I wonder if the Health Equity Coalition could be smart. That coalition formed around objectives of equity that are really aligned with what you're talking about. I was at the initial meetings, but I don't attend anymore. But I know health providers are at the table, including Salem Health. And I'm wondering if anybody here liaisons with that or is a part of that.
Are you talking about the OHA Health Equity Committee?
Well, I think the Health Equity Coalition was funded or got some funding support from OHA, but it's definitely a local. It's like Marion and Polk County, but I think they got OHA support if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Kelsey, you had your hand up?
Yes, I work in public health, and one of my coworkers is the health equity coordinator for our county. So they are connected with that group. So if no one is directly connected, I can connect with them who can connect me with them. So if no one's directly connected, holler.
Linnell.
The Homeless Alliance has a health and safety committee that includes people who have healthcare connections. So if your other options don't pan out, that committee might be able to do some research or have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
And I serve on the committee, so.
Nice. So we know a person there. That works. So I would say, Kelsey, please reach out, and Linnell, reach out as well, because all the conversations, I want all the information, because if it's happening, like, we need to dead it like ASAP. Hope, go for it.
Yeah, so I volunteer at Willamette Vital Health, the hospice center here in West Salem, and I can reach out because we do a lot of like medication stuff. We work with, all the people. So I can reach out and see if they want to get in contact. If that sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Like any doors that we can knock on to find information. Like I feel like this is something that's just, it's 2024. Like, have we not figured out that everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time? Just, have we not figured that out yet? So if this is a thing, like, we really need to, like I said, we need to dead it like now. If we can,
Could you say more about what like you're wanting to get out of the conversation? Like, are you just wanting to understand what current medical practices are doing? Or like, because I would really, really hope that there's no rule or medical book or anything that says that different races experience medical conditions differently. Although saying it out loud, there probably is. But are you like, what is this information gathering so that we can then act on it? Or how do you see this playing out ideally?
that's exactly what it is. It's making sure that us in the city, that our healthcare in the city of Salem is not using race-based medicine. And if they are, then they should speak to that and be held accountable for it. Like, that's because that's just not a thing. I don't know how many times it's been proven that that's not accurate. If they're still doing things that way, then it can't stand. So it's both. It's information gathering, and then once we get the information, we go forward.
Okay. I will flag that once we get this information, it would be great to share with the OHA Health Equity Committee. Because if Salem's doing it, so is other places in the state. And we are a Salem Commission. If we have all the information, we might as well share it statewide.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So sorry to hijack everything. I know it was just one of those things. It was I asked for that to be put on there and I completely skipped right over it. Yeah. So that being said, yeah, if you guys want to make those connections, feel free to share my contact info with anybody and any and everybody. I'd be glad to have that conversation and sit down. I promise I'll be cordial. But we'll go, but yeah, let's just go forward from that. So I will go ahead and move us forward to our equity ask and staff updates.
I think I have a couple things. I just wanted you to know also here, Jackie Leung sent a note today needing to resign from the Human Rights Commission, personal reasons, and wishes everyone well and speaks highly of the work. I wanted to mention we were visited by folks from Calgary, Japan last week who were with our sister city delegation, and they may be looking for volunteers for their booth at the Oregon State Fair that sells water bottles. So if you have any curiosity or interest in that, you can let me know. And then we had included in your meeting packet a letter that some of the leadership had written to Deputy Chief Debbie Aguilar.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd turn my time to you.
Yeah, and actually it was perfect timing that I was here tonight filling in. It actually wasn't planned. But so the letter was requesting that Robert Dowd continue to be the liaison between the police department and the Human Rights Commission. And basically how things have worked out is Robert is an acting lieutenant right now. His rank is sergeant, but because we have a lieutenant vacancy, he's filling that role just temporarily until we fill it with someone of that rank. So pretty soon Robert's going to be going back down to sergeant, and the thought was to have the lieutenant who's taking the position be the liaison, take over for that. Robert has a passion for the work on the Human Rights Commission, and he had already indicated to me that he would like to remain, and I know that the Human Rights Commission in that letter stated that you would also like to have him remain as the liaison. Ironically, at the same time, Robert's going to be switching divisions, so he won't be working under me anymore. However, I did talk with his new deputy chief, and he was very supportive of Robert continuing as a liaison, and so was I. So I'm happy to announce that he will remain as the liaison, at least for right now. And because there is a lot to be said about continuity, like we said, I think I was at for 8 years or something like that. And before then there was some continuity, and there really isn't a reason to have it be as a lieutenant. A sergeant can do the work just as well. So anyway, so I appreciated the letter and the conversation, and yeah, just here to say he's here for as long as you would like to have him.
Thank you. That's amazing to hear. I know in the last meeting, Lieutenant Downer, they mentioned, I think, his passion for this, and I know that he's done a lot of work to support the work that the commission does. I know that he's also been very instrumental in a lot of the efforts and everything regarding housing and homelessness after Lieutenant Gill, I think, took his promotion. And so given a lot of the intersections with this and everything, I think he's a great person on the scene. I think he comes in, I think, provides a lot of valuable insight and input, and so I'm excited to see that he'll be continuing here.
Yep, that's it for the staff report.
Awesome, that's great news. I'm glad he'll be able to stick around. So, let's see, so we will go ahead and move forward to our community calendar. So Hope, you're on deck.
All right, so we have a few events. Our first one, I don't have any more information on. I know Gretchen sent it over, so it's in about a month, but the Salem Oneness Coalition has planned September 11th at 4:30 for an interfaith forum between the local imam and rabbi, on making peace in an interfaith reality. We will explore how faith approaches other faiths, but not discuss current events. And it's going to be a historic event for Salem. The potential venue is at Shemeketa, so that students can be attracted. And then more information will be passed on as it arrives. And then, as Kelsey was saying earlier, Salem is hosting several Pride events from June to September. It kicked off with Pride Parade and a downtown block party on June 8th. And then Pride in the Park is September 21st. And then there's the link for that. And then Viva Salem Todos Unidos is on September 28th from 12 to 6 at Riverfront Park, hosting fun family activities, performances, music, art, and food. They're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in Salem, and there's the link for that. So that is all I have. I'm going to include our Laux Auditorium houselessness town hall in the next month. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Let's see, so now we will go ahead to if there are any member remarks or any other announcements.
I've got something I'd like to share and maybe bring up as a future topic for the commission. So I have noticed, and then other people have pointed out to me, that a lot of Salem small businesses downtown are shutting down. For example, Venti's Tap House, Empalog, Gatsby's, the Bee House or something the Bee. And also a lot of these are minority owned. And a lot of them are known as safer spaces for people in minority groups as well. And so I think it's pretty concerning that they are leaving Salem. And when I spoke to people, the number one reason was because of rent. And so I was wondering if this commission has the authority or ability to pursue some rent ordinances similar to what Portland has done to help protect our small businesses. So if that is something we could look into, I can send you guys some information on what Portland has done. For example, they have a limit on 5% rate inflation per year, and you need to provide reason if it's above 5%. It's a whole things that just make sure that if rent is increasing, there is a reason for it. And I just want to find ways to protect our small businesses.
I would love to see the information on that. So if you could get it over to me, that would be great. And see what it is that we can do. I mean, we can make a recommendation once we dig into it a little bit and go from there.
I'll chime in and add on. So your lens, as you evaluate that question, go back to chapter 8 of Salem Revised Code, chapter 97 of Salem Revised Code. Is there a pathway within those concepts that take you to that recommendation? So give you something to think about there.
Okay, thank you for that. Was there anyone else that had any comments, questions, concerns?
Two things for me, Hamadi, if you don't mind.
Go for
it. First, apologies for my relative silence. I've been traveling while you guys were talking. So these are both retroactive, but the first is, as I said during our committee meeting, a huge thank you to Kelsey for her leadership on the committee. And she, earlier in this conversation, in this meeting, she said, well, let me just list, what we normally do or something to that effect. And then she proceeded to list things that are really not normal and stand out and wonderful and delightful, and now have been institutionalized in ways that are just really amazing to see, and are really just a credit to her leadership and dedication to making sure that that community in particular and the work of this commission is served. And so I know she'll stay, excuse me, she'll stay on as vice chair for the commission, and I'm grateful to that. But and I understand that she's stepping down for good reasons, to allow others to take leadership positions. But a loss, and I'm just really grateful to her, and want to thank her for that, and look forward to Kira's leadership in the months ahead. And two, I just wanted to say thank you to DC Aguilar for the welcome news. And I had intended to, I wrote the letter hoping to have it be voted on by the commission and adopted, but happy that it's worked all the same. So thank you for sharing him with us, and looking forward to continuing our fruitful and collaborative relationship with SPD.
All right. Thank you, Joaquin. Okay, so if we don't have any other, oh, I did have a question actually. So our next meeting is scheduled for September 11th. I do know some people have, particular feelings about September 11th. So I just wanted to make sure if everybody was good with that. I didn't want to step on anybody's feelings. If somebody's, if it's some strong feelings about that day in particular. So, no? Okay. Just wanted to be mindful just in case. So, all right. So I will go ahead and close us out. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next month. And leadership, please hang on.